Hello, you did it. You made it all the way through. This is day 5 of the ActionACT 5-day challenge, and today is my favorite part because we're going to learn all about the strategies that I recommend to all students to help that score go up as fast as possible. We are going to dive right into the excitement. So the strategies that I use, I refer to as the 4 Ps. So they are petite, plug, predict, and point. So now let's look at what that actually means. So for petite is for the English section, which is the first section on the test. And what I mean by petite is that you are going to start with the shortest and simplest answer choice. So the overall strategy for the section is that I want you to read until you have enough information. So reading between the questions, not just what the underlined portion is. I want you to look for keywords in the question stems and reread your answer choice, what you think is the right answer, in the complete sentence. Because the number one reason, in my opinion, for getting questions wrong on the English section is that you chose an answer that sounded right for around what's underlined, but was wrong for the complete sentence. So let's look at a couple examples. So when I say start with the shortest answer, so for number 9, and before I even look at what's here, open would obviously be the shortest answer. So I'm going to read, it's impossible to predict which people will dig into their pockets or open their purses, and I've stopped trying to guess. That sounded right to me, and it actually is the right answer. Why it's open is because the other verb tenses were wrong, and we need to keep it short and simple. If they were to open, it made it way too long and wordy. When omit or delete, as the more recent tests have, is an option, it's the right answer 80% of the time. So I would read it without it in. Unfortunately, the code talkers sometimes faced peril from their own side. Omit is the right answer choice, J, and why it is because dangerous and peril mean the same thing. Another way or what I was talking about with the keywords, is you want to look for keywords in the question stem. So on a question like this, where you actually have a question versus just grammar, it says, at this point, the writer wants to provide one reason why she likes to ride the subways. Which choice is most relevant to the information provided in this paragraph? Okay, so if we want to know what's most relevant to the information provided. So when I look, it says a lot of people hate to ride the New York City subways, but I love them because something. A musician balancing a cello case, 2 Buddhist monks in the saffron robes, and a group of stockbrokers. And then it continues on. So if it was talking about the speed it was going, then it would be I like to get places fast. But because it's talking about all these random things, I never know what I'll see there would be a better fit. Some other good pieces of advice, if I do say so myself, for the English section are semicolons and who versus whom. So semicolon, anytime you see a semicolon, you could actually replace it with a period. So a question like this would be really common on the test. That actually, like I said, you could replace a semicolon with a period, but you could see both choices B and C here have the same words, and one is a period and one is a semicolon, so they both have to be incorrect. The right answer choice here would actually be A, and it's because if I had she was A, this is actually adds another subject and a verb, so I would need a semicolon here to make that work. And then who versus whom, I basically, what do you use when you're speaking? Who or whom? Almost always you use whom, and you're going to choose what you use when you're speaking on the test. The difference between the two is who is used as a subject and whom is used as an object. So when you have who, that's what you want to plug in and make sure it works. I think out of all the tests I've taken, whom has been the right answer twice. All right. Now it's time for math. So the P for math is plug. And if you like math, you've probably used plug and chug or something similar to that on a test. And it's the same type of plug and chug that you've used on tests before. I'm just going to show you maybe another way to use it. So basically on math, you want to use your answer choices as much as possible. The overall strategy is that you're going to read a question, obviously, and then I recommend taking notes or drawing a picture. And you want to take notes on word problems and draw a picture on geometry problems. Next, if you know how to solve the problem, go for it. But if you're stuck, that's when you look to your answer choices. And if you have numbers in your answer choices, you could plug them in. So you could plug and chug. If you have variables in the answer choices, I actually want you to pick a number to plug in. So let's look at an example of each. So what is the solution to the equation 7x minus x minus 3 equals 6? So if you know how to solve this algebraically, go for it. If you don't, you could actually plug your answer choices. It's saying, what's the solution? So I could say, negative 3/2. I'm going to plug that in everywhere I see x, and you can use your calculator and see when you plug it in if you get 6. Well, for A, no, you don't. For B, no, you don't. When I plug C in, yes, you do. For word problems, a word problem can be so intimidating, but if you take some notes, you're going to end up pulling out all the math information you need. So as shown in the figure below, Mr. Thompson, who is standing at point A, needs to determine the distance from point C on the ground to point E at the top of one of the second-story windows of his house. He places a mirror on the ground at point B so that when he looks in the mirror, he could see the top of the window. Mr. Thompson's eye level at point D is 6 feet above the ground. So you can see I took a note and put the 6 there. He notes that AB equals 4 and BC equals 14. Approximately how many feet above the ground is the top of the second-story window? So right away, if this is 6 and I'm trying to find this answer, it's got to be more than 6. So 2 would have to be wrong. And if I doubled it, I would get 12, and even 12 isn't to the top. So G would have to be wrong. So you can use kind of what it looks like to help you eliminate answer choices. To actually solve the problem, I do need to use ratios. So I have to match sides of the triangle. So I would say 4 is to 14 as 6 is to what? When I have fractions set equal to each other, I cross multiply, and I'm going to get x equals 21. So choice J. All right, and I said to draw a picture. So here's what I mean by that. When you are given information without a picture, drawing one will help. So the perimeter of a parallelogram is 72 inches, and one side measures 12. So I drew a rectangle. One side measures 12, and on a rectangle, if one side measures 12, the other side has to measure 12. What are the lengths of the other 3 sides? So again, I could plug them in. I know that I have to have 2 12s, so A would be out. For choice B, I would do 12 and 12 and 18 and 18. When I add that up, I get 60. But for choice C, when I add that up, I get 72, and that is the right answer. For any problem that has coordinate points, I recommend that you go ahead and plot them out. So number 17 here, in the standard XY coordinate plane, a line segment has its endpoints at 3, 6, and 9, 4. What are the coordinates of the midpoint of the segment? So you could see if I actually draw these little tick marks versus just saying it's over here in this quadrant. 3, 6 is here. 9, 4 would be here. So the midpoint would be somewhere around here. If I'm just eyeballing it, I would say that's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something. And then when I look here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks to be about 6, 5. That is the right answer. It is D. The formula for doing this, if you're a formula person, would be that you'd add the two x coordinates, divide by 2, add the two y coordinates, and divide by 2. All right, halfway done. The next strategy is predict for reading, the next P. So predict, let me show you what I mean by that. So you're going to match what you think the answer is to the answer choices. So the overall strategy is read the passage, annotate 1 to 2 words per paragraph, then read the question, predict the answer. I want you to refer back to the passage and match your prediction to the answer choice. So we're going to do this on just a paragraph. So when you read, I recommend annotating. So if I look at this one, and when I annotate, I would annotate 2 or 3 words per paragraph. And what you're looking to annotate would be the main idea. Every life was sacred and worthy to be improved by education, employment, healthcare, and affordable housing. Her goal was simple, a life of dignity and decency for all. She was uninterested in complex theories and demanded action for betterment. She feared violent revolution, but was not afraid of socialism, and she courted radicals. So really what I got out of that was every life was sacred. She wanted decency. Basically, everyone's important. So then I go to the question. According to the passage, the primary principle underlying ER's goals was. So if I look at this, I already wrote here next that everyone was important. But when I'm looking at this, her primary principle, I would say everyone's important, right? That's what she thought was necessary. So my predictions, everyone important. Then I read through the answer choices. F, every person deserved a dignified and decent life. That could be it. I'm looking for what's closest to everyone's important. As First Lady, she could talk about things that had never been discussed before. No, that has nothing to do with what I thought. H, through radio and columns, she could show she was interested in every person. So interested in every person, kind of, maybe. And then J, she must lead a bloodless American Revolution. No, nothing about that. So when I'm looking at everyone is important, I think F is a better fit. H says she was interested in every person, and it was more that she thought everyone was important, which was everyone needed to have a dignified life. So F is the right answer. Some tips for reading. For predicting, you want to refer back to the passage. There are several ways you could predict using your annotations. You can predict if you remember stuff when you read from the passage, and then sometimes they're nice and give you line numbers, and you could use those to refer back. Sometimes your prediction is going to be right on. Sometimes it's not even going to be close, but hopefully your prediction can help you eliminate answer choices. Some quick time tips. You're going to have one passage that is the paired passage, and you might want to save that for last just because you can read half of it and know which question still to answer. You want to keep your pencil moving is the best way for timing. The reading passages can be so boring, and if you're focused and doing some annotations, it'll be easier to get through. And it's better. When we looked at the scoring, it's about how many questions you're getting right versus how many questions you're completing. So you're better to spend more time on 3 passages than to rush and make sure you get through all 4. All right, last section. The strategy is point. So I want you literally to point where the question is telling you to. You're going to start with reading as little as possible. You're going to look at the graphs and tables and read the headings and the labels, and then read the question slowly and point to where the question is telling you to. So here I would start off with looking, I have low grade, medium grade, high grade, and then all these weird science words. So if I look at this, it says, according to figure 2, I would put my finger on figure 2. Which of the following minerals would most typically be found only in rocks of a medium grade? So now I'm looking at only medium grade. If it's only in medium grade, the only one that I have that's only in medium grade is right here, kyanite. So C would be the answer. And then again, I would look at this before I go to the questions: temperature, depth, temperature, and pressure. And then I have all these fancies. So figure 1 indicates that as depth increases, so I'm going to figure as depth is increasing, here was depth, and for it to be getting bigger, I'm actually coming down. So as depth comes down, what happens to pressure? So pressure, as I'm coming down and depth is getting bigger, pressure is actually getting bigger too. So it would be increases only. 26 of the questions on the science test are going to be ones that pointing questions can help you, or like pointing at the answer. And if you're getting those questions right, you'd be getting a 26 on science. So that was a super quick run through of examples of how to apply the 4 P's: petite, plug, predict, and point. I cannot thank you enough for joining me on this 5-day challenge. I truly hope that you got a lot out of ActionACT 5-day challenge, and I hope it really works for you. You know how to reach me if you have any questions. My email address, or find me in the Facebook group. I'm willing to help you in whatever ways I can. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and have a great day. Good luck on that test.